right? We're gonna debunk some myths here today, how video is hard, how video is expensive, how you've gotta be, a brand agency to do it. And we're gonna break those barriers down and help you all understand how you can just start creating great video content with the tools you have already today to start to communicate in a richer way with your audience and build better relationships. I think that's the most important thing that I'm seeing today. So the other thing, of course, that I'm seeing out there as I'm talking to more and more folks is this, important point that I kind of alluded to earlier, which is people love video as a content medium. And one of the reasons I think that this is so important, there's lots of stats up there, right? Most of the content now on the internet is actually streaming video content. Actually, the second one I'll just say because it's such a ridiculous number. 20 billion videos are actually played back every single day on Facebook and Snapchat alone, right? Which is ridiculous, right? If you think about it. And another billion hours of video are watched every day on YouTube, and it goes on and on and on, right? It's just the amount of video content being consumed today is astronomical. And yes, it's a lot of cat videos and people streaming Paw Patrol, but a huge amount of that is more and more video, business-related content. And the really important point here is that what we do in our consumer lives carry us over into business, right? The smartphones all started, and they suddenly came into the business world, and now it's everywhere, and social media and all these things happen. And so more and more, how we engage in our personal lives is becoming a part of business, and people are starting to expect video. The good news is, of course, that video works for business as well as in personal. The majority of customers report that watching video content creates more confidence in making a buying decision. And I think that's a really, really important aspect because in today's market, trust and confidence is so, so important because we're all in hyper-competitive markets now where the barrier to entry for competitors and other organizations is very low and everybody can go out and say whatever it is that they want to say with respect to what they deliver. But the real differentiator for a lot of companies and what you can't change is building trust and confidence with your customers and leveraging that to build new business. The second stat up there is that marketers tend to find video as the type of content that converts the best with audiences. And I think that's really, really important because it's not just about what brings people in, but video actually acts as a great converter. We'll talk about why that is. Part of it is because it helps to build that trust, because you can actually visually see and hear the stories from these organizations. And so it can build both an emotional and an intellectual connection with audiences. And we're also seeing sales teams starting to be more successful when they're incorporating video, whether it be video conferencing with their prospects or clients, or whether it be video messages or video on social. Again, different ways to build that relationship. To make sure that you're not just becoming another sort of, person hidden behind the keyboard, sending out the same text content as everybody else. Which I think I'm going to pause there and mention something that I think is really, really important to the evolution of what we've seen and how we communicate as organizations. If you think back, 15, 20 years ago, as brands, our primary forms of communicating into the market from a marketing perspective, it was largely kind of advertising, right? It was like brand advertising. And then it was largely one-to-one human communication, right? We do brand advertising as marketers, and we may do direct mail and things like that. And then it was typically then the sales team or people in physical retail locations or whatever it is, then communicating and building relationships, right? We're a B2B software company, and if we were here 20 years ago, most of it would have been, we do some brand advertising, and then they would talk to a sales rep, and a sales rep would build that relationship and try to sell them, right? Now, say, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, things changed where it suddenly became a lot of digital-focused content, right? We went to the websites and mass email marketing and, PDF guides and collateral, and it became all this text-based sort of one-to-many digital content. And people were less and less inclined to talk to a sales rep because now they could go online and they could discover all the information they needed, and they decided they wanted to start self-serving and learning things online themselves. And so the pendulum swung though, right? If you think back to those early days, that was all emotional, right? It was relationship building. It was brand advertising that was meant to get somebody to lean in. It was talking to a sales rep who would then, I know I get on calls with sales reps in our organization, and all the time, as a marketer, it frustrates me when we get on and they're like, how's the weather? How's the local sports team, right? There's all this kind of personal talk And I'm the marketer behind it saying, just get on with it. Like, let's get into the meat. But they know what they're doing, right? Because they're building that human relationship. So many years ago, it was all about that. And then we swung to this other end of the spectrum, which is heavy digitization of all that we do. And it became people come to your websites, they read all of this content. It's very informational, right? Email marketing just became this one-to-many sort of numbers game of how many people would click and open. And I think a lot of us in the market lost that emotional context, right? It became, initially we were building relationships as our primary outcome of communications. Then it swung to the other end of being very educational. Now I think it's swinging back to the middle, and it's figuring out how do we use these digital channels, but to communicate in a way that builds relationships. And that's, I think, where video has such a key part to play. Because we can't, people aren't going to go back to wanting to talk to sales reps all the time. We can't all afford to do big brand advertising, but the digital channels now give us a way to communicate in a more authentic way, and video is a great way to do that.